Hi everybody, Nick McDonald speaking. Welcome to this week's ICE commentary updates for the US equity markets. Looking here at the Russell, and I just want to open up here, maximize my 4-hour chart. So last week, this is where we were. Let me put an arrow in. So last week we were back here, and I was a bit bearish, looking for a breakdown below these candles and for a little bit of a short trade, just very, very short term before ultimately coming back and resuming the longer term uptrend. What happened is it actually gapped up a little bit, came down, closed the gap, and then did continue down. And then interestingly, later in the week we came up, we've tested the same level, really confirmed 830 as a strong resistance level, and sold off a little bit. Ultimately now, looking at where we are right now, we're in almost an identical position to where we were last week. Notice as well, the indicators are still making lower highs, which actually now prices also. So prices now made lower highs, indicators are too. Just confirmation that we're converging to the downside. Still looks like we're due a little bit more of a pullback in the short term before going up. Equally, these highs now, there is significant resistance there, but any break up through 830 would not be a break to new highs now because we've got these previous highs put in here, and we need to see indicators breaking up above those highs as well. So in the very short term, I remain slightly bearish. I still think this should sell off maybe down towards around about 800. Of course, we need to be keeping an eye on the other markets as well and the bigger picture. So it's just a 4-hour view, and just to show you that we're in an almost identical position to where we were last week. Let's just come and have a look at the other time frames. Moving up to a daily chart firstly. So now we can see this is just moving into quite a nice consolidation. But what is promising though, see how we had this bullish candle that we had a break up through it. We didn't continue, but we've pulled back in, and rather than selling off, we've had another bullish candle and just another break up through that candle on Friday. So this does look quite strong, does look like it could go up, but equally, as per the 4-hour chart, it looks like it just could pull back a little bit more first. I.e., see how here's the price is flat, but the indicators are going down still. This is divergence. It's telling me price is just due a bit more of a sell-off, back down maybe towards the next moving average, which is a 50. Although I think that's a bit far in this case. Probably more likely down to the next support level, which is very, very strong at 800. So this is really my target for a pullback area to become very, very bullish again to the upside. 800 particularly strong. Indicators on the daily looking like it should pull back a little bit further. Whether it gets to 800 or whether it even goes beyond, I still think it's going to pull back a little bit before coming up. We do have a lot of resistance up here as well, so a sell-off before coming up and testing kind of 840, 850, 860 regions just makes sense and will give it a little bit more strength as well. So sell-off is nothing to be afraid of. In fact, having some profit taking come in, having some selling pressure come in is actually a good thing. It gives more buying strength for the next push up within this uptrend. Looking at the weekly chart, I actually find this interesting. In fact, first I'm just going to go to the monthly, simply because just to show you unchanged from last week, particularly bullish, still looks strong. In the long term, we should break up through these highs with relative ease, and I think that the Russell will be going higher this year, breaking up through those highs with not too much of a problem. But right now, this is a monthly chart, so we're looking what could happen this week. Right now, this week, I do remain a slight bit bearish, but in the longer term, undoubtedly, based on technicals, we will be going higher. Looking at the weekly though, this is where I find it a little bit interesting as well, in terms of just looking at the Russell versus the others. So note here, let's just remember this weekly candle. Remember, it's pretty much at the same position it closed last week, but it's a bearish looking candle. Slightly bullish in terms of it rejected the lows, but it's a red candle. Let's just quickly come and have a look at the others. So I just want to go through these other cash markets here, the Dow, the S&P, the Nasdaq. Notice we've got a bullish weekly candle. So we're at resistance as well, but we still had a bullish candle. Come in and look at, most of them all did close around about the same kind of levels, but they just closed that little bit more bullish. Looking here at the S&P, same thing as a bullish candle, and actually just nudging up through these highs here. So the previous highest close we had here was 1363, and we've managed to close at 1365. So this is quite promising, and bullish candle and highest close we've had in quite some time here. And then come in and just looking at it on the Nasdaq as well. We also have a bullish candle and continuing to push up and actually breaking up and closing out of this little daily consolidation range. So if we were to purely look at the Russell on its own, I would say pullback. However, if we were to look at it in terms of the strength of the other markets as well, and the fact that this is now the lagger and lagging behind the other three index markets, that would also be a sign of strength. So we've got a little bit of a mixed bag. We've got a very bullish longer term chart. We do have a bullish looking daily, but one that shows potential for a pullback. The weekly is strong, but just that slight bit bearish compared to the other three markets, which actually in some ways can be bullish, because normally with three markets showing strength and one showing just ever so slight weakness, this market would be more likely to follow the three that show strength as compared to be the market that falls and leads the other markets down. So in fact, Looking at the bigger picture, there is, quite a decent chance of a rally this week. If the other markets rally, it is very likely to pull the Russell higher. So coming and looking at some real key levels we need to see breached. This 4-hour chart is quite key because we are in a range now, and we need to see a break up through 835. If we get through 835, then, and which actually is not too far away at all, it's 10 full points. If we can get up through 835, let's come back and look at this on a daily chart. Then 835, just been up at these highs, we should have a fairly good run to 850. Now that's not a huge run, not making any big calls, but the other markets are already pushing up through those highs, and certainly the Russell is due to come up and test them. However, on a pure technical basis, looking at the Russell on its own, I do think that a sell-off would be a preferable move up, and I'd rather see a sell-off back down towards 800, which would create great buying opportunities for a much bigger run up towards 850 and 860. So there is a view for the week, a little bit mixed in terms of bulls versus bears, but undoubtedly, even though it's only my bearish view is only very, very slight, and even more than being bearish, it's more of a case of looking for a better long opportunity. However, I will take opportunities whichever way they go. So my preference is for that pullback short, pull back to the downside first and then a move up. However, I'll be equally ready to trade moves to the upside. Keep an eye on those other markets, the Dow, the S&P, the Nasdaq, see if they do lead the Russell higher, because if they do continue higher and show strength this week, undoubtedly the Russell will go up as well. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens as we get up and test 850 and beyond, and see if we can really push up to new highs here. And who knows, maybe even do it very, very soon, as soon as March, if the markets continue to show the strength that they are showing. Have a trade and all. Have a wonderful week. Speak to you next week.